Today I'm going to show you how to make some amazing, delicious, creamy, refried pinto beans. Come join me. If you want to find the recipe, you know where to go, indianasapplepie.com. Come on, let's go. Whenever I'm making beans, I do like to give them a head start by soaking them first. So these are pinto beans. It was 2 cups of pinto, and I soaked them in hot boiling water for over 2 hours. You can see how much they've actually just swollen up and soaked up the water. Remember, we don't want to get past the max fill line, and don't worry, we're not going to do that. This is being made in my Instant Pot Mini, and I hesitated for a second, because it's so funny on the video. The off is blinking, but it's really not on the panel when I'm looking at it. Or maybe it's my eyes going crazy. I don't know. Odd. Anyway, so we've got the once soaked, or now still soaked, but drained beans in here. You never want to cook with the soaking water because it has anti-nutrients in it. Those are natural anti-nutrients found in beans. You want to get rid of that. The cooking water you want to save, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So we've got the pinto beans in there already, and I want to include some very basic ingredients, including garlic, onion, and jalapeno, as well as bay leaf, and I'm going to grab salt from my masala dabba over here. So the key is with the refried beans, for me, I like simple and to the point. And what I do is I mince all of these ingredients. I do not take out the seed or the membrane of the pepper. I like it in there because I like all that flavor. And then I just generally eyeball it. I take about half of my ingredients and just put it into my Instant Pot with my beans, because that's going to cook, right? You want that initial amount of ingredients cooking. There's no oil going in here. I know some recipes call for that. I didn't feel the oil was needed to cook the beans. I did use the oil after to do almost like a tadka, infused oil, hot oil, with the remaining ingredients. And look, it's probably a little bit less than half of the onion I use. Use about half, eyeball it. Throw in your bay leaves, 2 of them. I'm gonna grab my salt, about 2 teaspoons, 1, and then 2, that was less. I'm gonna add a touch more. I kind of gauge it. I know how much 2 teaspoons is. If you use 1 tablespoon, it does feel like it's too much. So just letting you know, I've tried it. And then I want 4 cups of water. This is just regular room temperature water. And take a look at that max fill line towards the back. The water does not get past it. You don't want to get past it. So this is telling me that I can safely cook 2 cups of beans in my 3-quart Instant Pot Mini. Remember, you can take this and you can cook it in a larger Instant Pot as well, if that's what you've got. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the lid on. We've got the valve turned to the closed position. The float valve is down because there's no steam in here. When the steam builds up, it pushes it out. And then we're basically gonna program it to pressure cook on high for 40 minutes. So press pressure cook. It says high, and then it says 3 minutes. It has a memory. Let's hit cancel. Let's do it again. Pressure cook, high for 40. It memorizes the amount of time that I programmed the last time. That's all that is. You could use the pre-program buttons, but it's just as simple for me to hit 40. Now, there's no, on the older models, an enter button, so you're gonna wait. Boom, it's on, and now it's warming up, and we're just gonna wait for this to cook. Warm up, and then it is going to cook for 40 minutes, and then I will show you what I've got. Our float valve has dropped, and our Instant Pot is off because I hit cancel. It's done cooking. Let's open it up and see what we find. Look at that. Remember, these holes here are for the Instant Pot lid. Look how beautiful that looks. These beans are beautifully done. So simple. I love making beans in the Instant Pot. So easy to do. These bay leaves, don't throw them out right away. I would put them to the side. And they're a tiny bit wet, but that's okay. But when we heat up the oil, we put some of the flavor, like deep flavor into this. It's like a tadka version of tadka for refried beans. We'll put the bay leaves in there and just pull out even a little tiny bit more flavor from them before we discard them. Now we have to drain the beans. The best way I've found to actually drain beans is to use a contraption like this. I just ordered it online. I found it somewhere, and I have a colander fitted in a bowl. What I like about this is that this has a spout. So when you have liquid in here, especially from pasta and whatnot, you can pour it into any dish. But in this case, we're gonna have the liquid from the beans. So all I'm going to do is take my beans from here, and I'm going to just pour them on. I'm starting out with a ladle only because I have only one hand as I'm holding the camera with the other. This is a very low budget situation at home here for me. So I don't want to spill anything. And I just want it to slowly go in here. And then, hold on. As I say, wait for it. Now that's done. So I'll go ahead and take the one-handed approach. So you see how I take that, and then I'll just pull this out, and what's left behind are the beans in the colander, and then that water, the cooking water on the bottom. But if you don't have a setup like this, don't worry, just have a colander set on top of a bowl, and then you can simply do the same thing, and then you'll have the water on the bottom, the cooking water, and then just the beans on top. Now comes the fun part. We get to hit saute. I like to keep my saute on normal versus more. This is kind of like the older model, which many of you might have of the Instant Pot. I really like that middle ground, and it's on and warming up. My inner pot is in here, and this is where I've cooked my beans. I don't wash my inner pot. It's okay. A little bit of bean juice is good. And we're gonna now, in essence, cook up the flavoring, the flavor for the beans. Remember, here's the juice that we had. What I wanna do with this is, I can pretty much eyeball how much I want, but I really just need about a half cup, and most of my juice is gonna go into this glass jar. I've talked about it before on my pages. I save all this cooked bean water. It's really important to save because it has so much flavor and usage. It actually can be a binder as well. It's something that when you cook chickpeas, it's called aquafaba. You can even use it in your chickpeas to make hummus, so less oil is actually used or needed, less fat if you have this cooking liquid. So just keep that in mind, don't throw it away. So now we're hearing that heat, and I've got 1 tablespoon of olive oil. You could use avocado oil. I like that idea just because the taste profile is perfect for what we're cooking, and also it's a high smoke point oil. And then we've got butter. So you could use a plant-based butter, you could use a regular butter, whatever you want to do. I'm going to let that melt a tiny bit. And as that melts, we're going to essentially do, you know, what we talk about in Indian cuisine, a tadka, but we're going to pull out even more the essential, beautiful oils of the bay leaf. This was the one that was the 2 that were in our pot cooking with the beans, but let's just go ahead and really, you know, get the most out of them and really heat them up beautifully. Now, I used half and half oil and butter. You could use 2 tablespoons of oil. But someone told me that this might be a fun way. It was a fun way that she, my dear friend Stephanie, with an F, her mom adds flavor to her beans. And then we're gonna go ahead and add in our onion, jalapeno, and our garlic. This is adding another layer of flavor to our beans. This is literally gonna cook for 5 minutes. It's all going in there. So we added all these ingredients to begin with when the beans were cooking in the water. And now we just want to add another layer of beautiful ingredients. I've seen some recipes call to cook this for 10 minutes. I found 5 was actually perfect. You don't want to overcook it. It is a little less sticky because there was a little bit of moisture from the beans. That's perfectly fine. So let's just let this cook and then we are going to check back. It's been about 5 minutes and look at this. It's okay. There's a little browning. You're not going to use the Instant Pot any longer in terms of pressure cooking, so you don't have to worry about the browning. It will all deglaze with the added beans and the moisture. So here we go. I'm going to do it a little slower because I'm doing it one-handed, holding the camera. And as you put them in, I just like to stir so that we can start deglazing that bottom. You're going to leave the pot on saute. And also, as we're doing this, we're going to add a little bit of moisture. The aquafaba is what I meant to say, not fava. Fava. And that heat, that very low heat, is what is going to take all of that browning off the bottom and give you all of that flavor in your beans. So let's just keep doing this. Cook, cook, cook. You end up needing about a 1/4 cup of bean broth, as someone just said. It's not beef broth, it's not bone broth, it's bean broth. Woo-hoo. Go beans. There we go. This last little bit in. So I end up, like I said, using about a 1/4 cup. So I'm just gonna wing it here. There you go, that's good. And then you can use an immersion blender or a masher. And I like the masher because it's just so nice to see that consistency. You don't want to over mash them, but you know what? Some people like them really, really mashed down. In fact, my buddy who grew up in a Mexican household tells me to put it in a food processor. So you could even do that and really get it where you want. But this is enough for me. I kind of like that texture of the beans. It just depends on what you are looking to do with them. I just like a little texture because I feel like that gives you that sort of like feeling, that mouthfeel, and you really kind of enjoy biting into them. And then you're gonna take out the bay leaves and throw them away and let them just cook up the beans another moment or two. And that's basically all there is to it. These are your, oh, beautiful refried beans in your 3-quart mini Instant Pot, but you could have made them in the 6-quart or 8. And go to my website to get the exact recipe and instructions. www.indianisapplepie.com. Remember, I need you to follow me, subscribe, like my Facebook page, like my Instagram page, and get on there to YouTube. I'm going to have this video obviously on YouTube. Please subscribe. It encourages me. This is what gets me through my day. If not, I Don't feel like anyone's listening. But you have to, because you have to make this. It's so good. And obviously too, only if you've watched my other videos, keep this jar of aquafaba in your fridge. So when you reheat these beans tomorrow, you don't dilute the flavor with water. You keep adding some of that flavor back in, and it's just amazingly delish. All right, folks, Indian as apple pie is where all the good recipes are. Bye.